The bar's lights were too warm, the polished surfaces too eager to catch every glint and shadow. Ethan Moore felt like he was under a spotlight, every chrome rim and mirrored wall conspiring to highlight his unease. He adjusted his collar, hoping to calm the frantic pulse beneath it, but his hands betrayed him with a faint tremor. He'd chosen a quiet booth in the corner, a spot that promised a sliver of calm. His drink, plain soda, no ice, sat untouched, the glass slick with condensation. He nudged it slightly, then back, the small ritual grounding him like a silent chant. His phone vibrated, a text from his friend Mia glowing on the screen. "You're fine. It's just a guy, not a dragon." Ethan's lips quirked in a half-smile. Another message followed. "Also, you're charming. Don't forget that." His fingers hovered over the keyboard, unsteady. "My hands are shaking so much the soda's nervous." Mia's reply was instant. "Sip. It's just bubbles, not a life crisis." Ethan lifted the glass, hesitated, then set it down. "I'm a regular person on a regular date," he muttered to the fizzing surface, as if it could agree. "Totally normal." The word normal felt worn, like a coin rubbed smooth. He knew how others saw him: gentle features, hazel eyes that sometimes seemed too wide, too open. His dark hair refused to behave, no matter how much he tried to tame it. He'd mastered folding his shirts neatly but still tripped over loose laces. He kept his head low, his work precise. What he hadn't mastered was walking into a place like he owned it, like he belonged. He glanced at his phone. 7 minutes early. Too soon to bolt, though the urge tugged at him. At 26, he edited manuscripts for a small press. He could handle a setup date, courtesy of Mia's relentless matchmaking. "Setup date," he whispered, the glass catching his breath in a faint mist. Not completely blind. Mia had offered a name and a few details. Lucas. Tall, warm-hearted. Ethan had pressed for a picture. Mia, ever the romantic, had waved him off. "You'll spot him. Trust me." He tried to imagine Lucas. Tall suggested someone imposing. Warm-hearted conjured images of kindly teachers or pets in quirky sweaters. Ethan traced a finger through the wet ring on the table, smearing it into a faint arc. "Should have insisted on a photo," he told the soda. It stayed silent. The bar hummed with weekend energy, clinking glasses, soft electronic music, people ordering elaborate cocktails with practiced nonchalance. Ethan tried to sync his breathing with the rhythm. Relax his shoulders. Not melt into a puddle of nerves. He'd brought a napkin just in case, though he swore he wouldn't need it. He took a sip. The soda was sharp, a fleeting taste of citrus. The door swung open, letting in a cool draft. The room's chatter dipped, a subtle shift like a missed note. Ethan didn't look up right away. He was too busy loosening his grip on the glass, counting inhales, promising himself he'd stay put. Then he caught a voice near the entrance, friendly but private. "He's over there." Another voice, softer, richer. Of course he'd have that look. Ethan glanced up. The man who stepped in was tall enough to draw eyes, his frame filling a tailored navy jacket that carried the night's chill. His dark hair, neatly combed, gleamed under the bar's amber glow. His eyes, green, vivid, like something from a painting, met Ethan's from across the room. His smile was slight, warm, not sharp. People glanced at him like he was a rare, fleeting sight, something to linger on. This was Lucas. Not a vague idea from Mia's texts, but real, polished, like he belonged in a sleek office or a movie's closing scene. Ethan's thoughts wobbled, off balance. The host checked a tablet. "Lucas?" The man nodded, his gaze finding Ethan again. Not startled but certain. "The you are?" Ethan's stomach flipped. "You're just a guy." "He's just a guy," he told himself, heart racing. "This isn't a test." Lucas approached, his walk steady but unhurried. Up close, he was more striking, his eyes curious, not cold. A faint scar nicked his brow, a small flaw that made him real. His tie was neatly knotted, his cuffs simple, nothing ostentatious. "Ethan?" His voice was warm, like someone who found joy easily, who knew the best coffee spots without trying. Ethan stood, his chair scraping softly. "Hi." It slipped out too soft, almost a question. He tried again. "Hey." Lucas's smile widened, gentle, amused. "I'm Lucas. Nice to meet you." He offered a hand. Ethan hesitated, wiped his palm on his jeans, and shook it. Lucas's grip was steady, warm, with a faint hint of cologne, clean, like lime and wood. They sat. Lucas slipped off his jacket, his shirt hinting at a lean build, and Ethan nearly forgot how to breathe. The waiter appeared. Gin and tonic, Lucas said, easy, confident. Ethan froze. Soda's fine, he said, like it was a personality trait. The waiter left. Lucas leaned forward slightly, hands relaxed on the table. Thanks for coming out. Mia says great things about you. Ethan's mouth twitched. Mia thinks paper napkins are high art. The words tumbled out before he could stop them, and he winced, wishing he could rewind. She's nice. Too nice, maybe. But, thanks for being here, Lucas. Lucas's eyes crinkled, his smile soft. You seem surprised, he said, his tone light, observant without being sharp. Was my entrance too much? It was very entrance-like, Ethan managed, voice thin. Lucas chuckled, a sound that felt like sunlight. I stick to doors. Windows are too dramatic. Ethan's lips curved, a smile sneaking through his nerves. Maybe he could do this. Maybe he could be a person who stayed. So, he tried, grasping for normalcy. How's your week been? It's been a busy week, Lucas said, leaning back slightly. Good busy though. New city, new rhythms. He paused, then added, getting to know the place. Exploring's nice, Ethan replied, grasping at the conversational lifeline. Found any good spots yet? Maybe a cafe or a park. There's this quirky bookstore nearby, Lucas said, a spark in his eye. They only stock books with handwritten notes in the margins. Ethan tilted his head. Wait, they sell the books or just the notes? Lucas grinned. The books. The notes come free. Ethan's words tumbled out before he could stop them. Right, yeah, that makes sense. Selling scribbles would be weird unless... His face warmed under the bar's soft lights. He grabbed his soda, the fizz hissing softly against the glass. The rim was cool against his lips, a fleeting distraction. When he looked up, Lucas was watching him, not with judgment, but with quiet curiosity, like someone savoring a story's unexpected turn. The attention should have anchored Ethan. Instead, it made his pulse race. If Lucas was really listening, every word Ethan said carried weight. And weight meant risk. A nervous twitch started in his leg. He pressed a hand to his knee under the table, hoping it looked casual. His heart was too loud, his shirt too tight. Oh no, was that a loose thread on his cuff? If it unraveled, he'd probably vanish into the floorboards forever. The waiter returned with Lucas's drink, a clear glass with a lime wedge. Ready to order? I'm not feeling great, Ethan blurted, the words escaping like they'd been waiting for their cue. Lucas's gaze sharpened, not irritated but concerned. Need a moment? Ethan wanted to nod, to buy time. But anxiety hollowed him out. I'm sorry, I think I need to step away. Ethan, Lucas said gently, his voice like a steady hand. It's okay. Just breathe. In another world, Ethan might have listened. But here, his old fears took over, the certainty that something this bright wasn't his to hold without breaking. Lucas seemed like he could charm a crowd with a single word. Ethan apologized to chairs when he bumped them. Sorry, Ethan mumbled, already standing. His chair nudged his leg, a small betrayal he ignored. I'm just not feeling well. Need your soda? Lucas asked, nodding at the glass. Yes, Ethan thought. Or maybe a whole lake to drown his nerves. Instead, he seized the easiest escape. Just hitting the restroom, he said, fleeing with the urgency of someone dodging an awkward reunion in a coffee shop line. The bathroom's cool tiles and dim glow felt like a sanctuary. Ethan gripped the sink, staring at his reflection. His hazel eyes looked too wide, his hair a defiant mess, his lips unsteady. A shaky breath. Then another. Tears came, soft at first, tracing warm paths down his face. He wiped them away, but they kept coming. He leaned his forehead against the mirror, its chill sinking into his skin. I'm a mess, he whispered. The reflection stayed quiet, kind in its silence. He's just a person. I'm a person. I could have stayed. I could have ordered something bold. His phone vibrated. A text from Mia. How's it going? Sparks flying? Ethan typed back. In the bathroom. Nice one like a spa? Or bad one, like a meltdown? The pause. Mia was either crafting a careful reply or already on her way to drag him back. Her response came, breathe, okay? You don't have to go back if it's too much. But you could. He's not a monster. He's just a guy you said yes to meeting. Ethan let out a wobbly laugh. Just a guy, he repeated. The mirror caught the faint curve of his lips, holding it like a snapshot. He splashed cold water on his face. The soda's citrus tang lingered on his tongue. He dried his cheeks with paper towels, softer than they had any right to be. He thought of Lucas's eyes, the way they crinkled when he smiled, the small scar on his brow, a mark of a life that wasn't perfect. Human. Pictures are too much, Ethan muttered, blushing at his own absurdity, as if the sink might roll its eyes. But really, when Lucas said his name, it felt like a question he cared about, not a line he was reading. And Ethan hadn't stayed to ask anything back. He closed his eyes, sparks flickering in the dark behind his lids. Maybe he could go back, admit he was nervous. Say this wasn't his usual self. Sort of true. He could sit down, order something daring, a sparkling water, maybe, or something with a fancy umbrella. His stomach churned at the thought of walking back through the crowded bar, every glass reflecting his awkward steps. He pictured Lucas's face, kind, patient, unfairly handsome. He also pictured himself tripping over nothing and becoming a bar legend for all the wrong reasons. He leaned against the wall. The tears had stopped, his chest still tight but calmer, like after a sprint. A small win. His phone buzzed again. Mia, if you need a rescue, I'm there. I'll say your cat knocked over a lamp, and you're the only one who can fix it. Ethan's smile hurt, but it was real. Think I just blew my shot, he typed. No way, Mia replied. He's either cool enough to wait a few minutes or not worth your awesome self. You didn't break anything by being you. He read it twice. Brief. Fin. His hands were steady enough to pocket his phone without dropping it. He smoothed his hair, it fought back as always, and grinned at its defiance. Then he opened the bathroom door. The hallway smelled of mint and lime. He stood there, caught, like a thought before it's finished. Back to Lucas? Right to the exit. He could try left. Or he could choose right and let it go. He stepped left. Ethan wasn't brave, not the kind that's shown in public. So he turned right. The door's handle was smooth, warm from countless other hands. He pushed through into the night's cool air, a breeze tugging at his hair. He'd text later, he told himself. Explain. Apologize. He hadn't promised anything, except that he was trying. Outside, the city glowed, lights weaving into streaks, windows like stars. Ethan pulled his jacket closer, lingering in the doorway. He wiped his cheek with the back of his hand, hating that he'd fled, but glad he'd at least paused. The door opened behind him. A familiar scent hit first, lime and wood. Ethan swiped his hand against his pocket, a nervous tick that left faint smudges, and closed his eyes, as if he could vanish. Hey, a warm voice said, close but not crowding. You all right? Ethan opened his eyes. Lucas stood a few steps away, jacket draped over his arm, like he was ready to offer it if the cold got too sharp. His green eyes weren't piercing, just steady, waiting. Lucas didn't smile or frown, he just stood there, offering Ethan a quiet space to fill with his nerves. His concern was steady, like a door left ajar, waiting for Ethan to step through. Sorry, Ethan said, the words slipping out like a reflex. I got too much in my head. It happens, Lucas replied, his voice calm, unruffled. First dates are strange. Blind ones? Even stranger. Mia gave me a heads up. Ethan let out a shaky laugh. She's too nice. Says I'm charming when I'm a mess. Does it help? Lucas asked, tilting his head just enough to catch Ethan's eye. Sometimes. Good. Lucas glanced back at the bar, then returned to Ethan. We don't have to keep going tonight. Or ever if you don't want. No pressure. But I'd like to try again. His lips quirked. Maybe in a place with dimmer lights, so I'm less intimidating. Ethan's laugh escaped before he could stop it. Doubt that'd help, he admitted, and the honesty left a small, warm spark between them. Want me to walk you to the station? Lucas offered. Or get you a ride. Or we could pretend this never happened, and I'll tell Mia a ghost with a lime scent spooked us. Station, Ethan chose, clutching the smallest piece of courage he could muster. I can walk alone. You should. Lucas's voice was soft, approving. Your soda's safe without me. His eyes warmed. Want me to wait until you're on the train? Ethan thought it over. The offer felt safe, not demanding. No, he said. Thanks. I'll be fine. Lucas nodded, respecting the line Ethan drew. Then I'll let you be fine. His tone turned playful. I'm telling Mia you were polite. And nearly bold. Nearly, Ethan echoed, steadied by the gentle tease. Nearly, Lucas repeated, his smile quick and bright. Good to meet you, Ethan. You too, Ethan said, the words heavy with sincerity. He stepped from the doorway's shadow into the flow of the sidewalk. He didn't glance back, though he sensed Lucas lingering, half-turned toward the bar, eyes holding a quiet thought he'd keep to himself. Ethan descended into the subway's tiled glow, swiped his fare like it was routine, as if he hadn't just walked away from something rare and dazzling. On the platform, he texted Mia. I bailed. Then added, he was a lot. Like a movie star wandered into real life. Her reply was a flood of emojis. Then, give it another shot later. Ethan typed, maybe. His fingers paused. Hope I didn't upset him, Mia. If he's got a heart, he'll get it. If not, you dodged a good-looking disaster. Ethan's smile was small, fragile, as the train roared in. He stepped aboard. In the window's reflection, he saw not a failure, but a guy heading home after facing something he thought he'd never survive. A start, even if it felt like a finish. Outside, Lucas watched the spot where Ethan had stood until the crowd swept it away. He draped his jacket over his shoulder, glanced at the bar's door, then at the humming street. He breathed in the city's mix, spices from a nearby diner, a hint of rain, something faintly sweet, and let out a breath that curled like mist. Sweet, he murmured, not as comfort but as truth. His lips curved in a private grin, the kind of a man who liked surprises. He stepped back inside, raised his glass in a quiet toast to the empty seat across from him. The ice clinked softly, like a tiny cheer, before the table settled into silence, where a date had almost happened, and a story began to take root anyway. Monday hit harder than usual, heavy with a lingering ache. Ethan stood on the subway platform, bag slung over one shoulder, hair refusing to behave despite his best efforts. When the train screeched to a stop, he boarded, his face set like he was heading to a trial. Sleep had been scarce since Saturday. The memory of his spectacular exit played on repeat, a relentless loop of embarrassment. Lucas's vivid green eyes, steady voice, and the moment Ethan had bolted like a spooked rabbit haunted him. Each replay stung. It wasn't just shame. It was the gnawing sense he'd squandered something special before it could even begin. Lucas hadn't been cold or impatient. He'd been kind. And Ethan had run anyway. Now, squeezed between a woman tapping her phone and a man who smelled of cologne and fatigue, Ethan wondered if he should text. Yesterday he drafted 3 apologies, all trapped in his drafts folder. Sorry for bolting like a lunatic. Sorry for being a mess. Like knocking over a drink. Sorry I freaked out. Can we try again? He deleted them all. Lucas probably wanted nothing to do with him. And Ethan couldn't face a blank screen. The train lurched. Ethan gripped the pole, his stomach buzzing with nerves. By the time he reached the publishing house, a stone building that always smelled of ink and coffee, he felt like he'd been awake for days. He swiped his badge, nodded to the front desk, and trudged to his desk in the editorial corner. His small cubicle was his haven, tucked away, letting him dive into manuscripts without eyes on him. Most days he stayed under the radar by choice. It worked for him. Not today. As he dropped his bag and started his computer, he sensed a shift, a buzz rippling through the office, voices sharper, co-workers whispering in tight groups. What's up? Ethan asked the intern nearby. You didn't hear? She said, eyes wide. New editor-in-chief announcement today. Someone from outside. Big news. Ethan nodded vaguely. Read the emails. Their old editor-in-chief had retired, sparking rumors about the replacement. He hadn't cared much, someone that senior wouldn't notice him. But the office hum piqued his interest. He tried to focus on a manuscript, but the words blurred. His stomach knotted, uneasy for no clear reason. At 10, everyone was called to the conference room. Chairs scraped, laptops clicked shut, and Ethan shuffled in, heart pounding inexplicably. The CEO stood at the table's head, grinning like he was unveiling a new bestseller. I'm thrilled to introduce our new leader, he said. Please welcome Mr. Lucas Harper, our new editor-in-chief. The room spun. Ethan's pen slipped in his grip. Lucas Harper. The same Lucas. And there he was, stepping in like he belonged. Tall, navy suit sharp, dark hair neat. That same presence that hushed conversations and turned heads. Ethan's breath caught. Lucas greeted the room with a smile, warm, professional, never forced. His green eyes scanned the table, pausing on each person briefly. When they reached Ethan, they lingered. Not enough for others to notice, but enough to set Ethan's face on fire. He ducked his head, scribbling gibberish in his notebook. Don't pass out. Don't pass out. Lucas's introduction was smooth, confident. He spoke about his publishing experience, his passion for stories that resonate, his commitment to the team's creativity. Ethan caught snippets, but his heartbeat drowned out the words. All he could think was, he's my boss. Not just the guy from the date. Not just a mischance. My boss. The meeting ended in a flurry of chatter. Ethan hung back, hoping to vanish into the walls. But as he slipped out, he felt Lucas's gaze again, curious, faintly amused. Ethan ducked his head and hurried to his desk. The morning blurred into a haze of nerves. Every edit Ethan made felt like Lucas was reading over his shoulder. By noon, his hands shook so much he could barely hold his coffee. Which, of course, led to disaster. He turned a corner from the break room, mug in hand, when Lucas appeared. Their eyes locked, Ethan's wide with panic, Lucas's steady and curious. Ethan flinched, coffee splashing, hot liquid grazing his wrist. Before he could curse his clumsiness, Lucas's hand caught his arm, firm and warm. "Careful," Lucas said, his voice laced with gentle amusement. "You'll scald yourself." Ethan froze. The warmth of Lucas's touch sent a jolt through him. He pulled back, stumbling over words. "Sorry, thanks, I didn't." Lucas tilted his head, green eyes glinting. "No need to apologize for physics, Ethan." His name in that tone nearly unraveled him. Ethan mumbled something garbled and fled to the nearest cubicle, cheeks burning. He set his mug down, heart pounding like a drum. By afternoon, the office buzzed with whispers. "Did you see Moore nearly douse the new boss with coffee?" More like the boss saved him. Moore's acting weird around him. Ethan wanted to disappear into a filing cabinet. But the day wasn't done with him. At 5, he slipped into the elevator alone, clutching his bag like a shield. The doors were closing when a hand slid through. They parted. "Lucas." Ethan's stomach plummeted. Lucas hit the lobby button and stood beside him, close enough for Ethan to sense the quiet warmth radiating from him. The elevator felt too small, too silent. Ethan stared at his shoes, suddenly fascinated by their scuffs. The quiet stretched. Ethan counted floors, throat dry as dust. "Rough day," Lucas said, his tone easy but carrying a spark that made Ethan's skin tingle. "Yeah," Ethan managed, voice high. "Long." Lucas made a soft sound, not quite agreement, more like he was thinking. Ethan stole a glance and caught Lucas watching him, expression unreadable. He dropped his gaze, ears hot. The doors opened at the lobby. Ethan bolted like he'd been released from custody. Lucas followed, unhurried. Ethan stepped onto the sidewalk, aiming for the subway, when a voice cut through the dusk. "Ethan." He stopped, heart racing. Slowly turned. Lucas stood a few steps away, hands in his pockets, jacket catching the fading light. Relaxed, yet magnetic, like he had nowhere else to be. "Why'd you run that night?" Lucas asked. The question hit like a dart. Ethan's throat tightened, panic flaring. He shook his head. "I can't." And then he did what he knew best. He fled. He melted into the crowd, pulse hammering. He didn't look back. Lucas let out a soft laugh, shaking his head. "Sweet," he murmured, watching Ethan vanish into the evening. By Tuesday, the office lights felt sharper, amplifying every unsteady breath. Ethan kept his eyes on his screen, bracing for a glimpse of green eyes at the corner of his vision. He told himself it was silly to think Lucas would care enough to try again. If he could just make it to lunch, then to 5, then to Friday, the memory might fade into something manageable. At 10:15, his inbox chimed. From Editor-in-Chief. Subject: Great work on the Torres manuscript. Ethan blinked, a flicker of warmth cutting through his nerves. A minute later, another chime. A calendar invite. 15 minutes. Meeting room. He arrived early, counting ceiling tiles to avoid fidgeting. When Lucas entered, he shut the door softly and leaned against it, hands relaxed, like the room had invited him personally. "Thanks for coming," Lucas said. "How are you holding up?" A simple question, but asked like he wanted the real answer. "Fine," Ethan lied, his voice wobbling. "Thanks for the email. You earned it." Lucas stepped closer, not crowding, and placed a printed page on the table. "Can I ask something not about Torres's pacing?" Ethan nodded, his pulse fluttering like a trapped bird. "Why'd you run that night?" Lucas asked. The same question, softer now, like an invitation, not a challenge. Ethan swallowed. Excuses dissolved. The truth spilled out, raw and awkward. "You're too much," he blurted, then winced, wishing he could rewind. "I didn't think I belonged in your league." Silence settled. Then Lucas let out a soft, surprised breath. Ethan forced his eyes open. Lucas wasn't mocking or annoyed. He laughed, quiet, warm, like he'd found something unexpectedly precious. "Wow," Lucas said, still smiling. "Thanks, I guess." His expression softened. "You're in my league, Ethan." Something in Ethan cracked. The walls he'd built. convinced he was too small, too messy for someone like Lucas, shook. I'm not saying it for pity, Ethan mumbled. It's just, you're like the main story. I'm the margin notes. I like margin notes, Lucas said easily. They show where the heart is. He leaned slightly, offering a glimpse of himself. I moved here a month ago. My place still smells like new paint. That scar on my brow? Tried to ride a skateboard down a hill to impress my sister. I'm terrible at lounging and great at charring toast. I'm not the main story. The words landed gently real. Ethan stared at the faint scar cutting Lucas's brow, letting its story ground him. I didn't mean to corner you last night, Lucas said. I just wanted to know. I don't push, but I do chase, if it's okay. Is it okay? Ethan's throat tightened, his eyes stinging as Lucas saw straight through him. He managed a small nod. I'd like to try, Lucas said gently, if you're okay with me being, well, me. Nerves and all? Nerves and all, Ethan corrected, caught between embarrassment and relief. Then we'll try, Lucas said, his voice steady. Your base. I'm not going anywhere. He slid the printed manuscript across the table like a gesture of trust. For now, can I borrow your brain for 10 minutes? About Torres's draft. They discussed edits until Ethan's breathing settled into a rhythm that didn't claw at him. As they left, Lucas held the door, motioning Ethan through first, a small kindness that felt bigger because it wasn't needed. The next few days wove themselves around quiet, intentional gestures. On Wednesday, Ethan found a coffee on his desk, black and bold, just how he liked it when he needed focus. A sticky note was stuck to the lid, for the boldest editor I know. Boldest, Ethan muttered, snorting into the cup. A splash hit his lip, making him cough, blush, and then laugh. He tucked the note into his pocket, smoothing it until the ink smudged. On Thursday, another note appeared by his keyboard. Your pacing notes were perfect. A tiny doodle of a chef's kiss sat in the corner. Ethan glanced through the glass wall of Lucas's office and caught those green eyes on him. Lucas raised an imaginary coffee mug, mouthing thanks. Ethan let out a silent squeak and waved like he was spotting a star from a crowd. By Friday, rain poured in heavy curtains. At the elevator, Lucas appeared, holding a wide navy umbrella. Which way? Lucas asked. Subway, Ethan said. 2 blocks. Works for me. They walked side by side, the umbrella tilted to shield Ethan more, leaving Lucas's sleeve damp. Their steps synced effortlessly. Rain pattered on the umbrella as they chatted about small things. The deli on the corner that had lost its charm, the alley cat who only took treats from a select few, a novel they both adored and its bittersweet final line. At the subway entrance, Lucas paused, holding the umbrella over Ethan a moment longer. Text me when you're home? He asked. I don't have your number, Ethan said, fumbling for his phone like it might escape. I mean, if that's okay, I'd like it. Lucas's smile softened. He recited his number slowly as Ethan typed, then sent himself a quick hi. Ethan's phone buzzed, from the margin notes guy. He grinned at the screen until it blurred. I'll text when I'm home. Good, Lucas replied, tapping the umbrella on the pavement like a full stop. Stay dry. Ethan took 2 steps down the stairs backward, reluctant to look away, then caught himself before stumbling. He laughed, half at Lucas, half at his own clumsiness. Later, with wet socks drying by the heater, he texted, home. Thanks for the umbrella, and not laughing at my getaway skills. Lucas sent a photo of his damp jacket hung up. Price of being chivalrous. Then, you're easy to walk with. The workdays grew richer. Ethan found he could sit near Lucas without tallying his own flaws. Anxiety still struck sometimes. He'd crack a joke, then brace as if it might shatter something, only for Lucas to steer the conversation so smoothly no one noticed. In meetings, Lucas sought Ethan's input like it anchored the discussion. When someone cut him off, Lucas would pause, calm but firm, and say, let Ethan finish. The first time, Ethan's eyes watered, gratitude swelling. The second time, when a colleague smirked, Lucas didn't flinch, keeping his gaze on Ethan until the smirk faded like a snuffed candle. Ethan cried twice in Lucas's office that week, and once in the stairwell. The first cry came after an author sent a sharp email, upset over Ethan's suggestion to trim a beloved but clunky scene. Ethan stared at his closed laptop, fixated on the table's edge. Lucas knelt beside him. Tissue, pep talk, or quiet space? All 3, Ethan murmured. Lucas passed a tissue box like it was a prize. His pep talk was brief. Your edit strengthened the story. Some people lash out before they say thanks. That's not on you. The quiet space was Lucas's office. lights dimmed, a glass of water set gently before him. The stairwell cry was Otter. It followed a victory. His new author's manuscript got approved. Their glowing thank you email cracked something open in Ethan. He pressed a hand to his chest, overwhelmed. Lucas found him there, maybe by chance, maybe because he'd mapped Ethan's hideaways. He didn't tease or prod. He sat one step below, eye level with Ethan. "Want me to say anything?" Lucas asked. "No," Ethan whispered, voice shaky with joy's weight. "Just stay." "Done." They sat until Ethan's breathing evened out. One Thursday night, the office was quiet, lit by soft city glow. They sat side by side at a meeting room table, manuscripts scattered, pizza crusts forgotten in a box. Ethan had one socked foot tucked under him, lost in notes until Lucas's voice broke through. "This note," Lucas said, pointing to a margin. "Let her reveal it before the story does. It's spot on." "It's obvious," Ethan mumbled. "Obvious," Lucas echoed, "is what skill looks like to everyone else." The praise sank in, warm and quick. Ethan laughed softly, hoping the sound would keep it from overwhelming him. They settled into a comfortable quiet. Keyboards clicked, pages rustled, the hum of events wrapped around them. Their hands occasionally brushed, reaching for the same pen, the brief contact making Ethan's focus falter. Lucas's sleeve grazed his arm, leaving a trail of warmth like a spark. It wasn't grand. The air simply shifted, gathering around them. Ethan realized he wasn't tensing anymore. His chair had inched closer without him noticing. When he looked up, Lucas was already watching, his gaze soft, patient, not asking for permission but waiting for it, like an open hand. Ethan's heart settled, poised on the edge of a choice. "I don't want to," Lucas paused, shook his head. "I want to kiss you. If you're okay with that." The calm question undid Ethan. He nodded, breath hitching. "Yes." Lucas didn't hurry. He stood, moving behind Ethan's chair, his hand brushing the backrest lightly, as if shushing the room. He stepped in front, close enough for Ethan to see the soft lines framing his eyes under the dim light. "Okay?" Lucas asked, one last check. "Okay," Ethan whispered, the word a quiet promise. Lucas lifted his hand slowly, brushing Ethan's chin with his fingertips, a touch so light it felt like a question. He leaned closer. The first graze of lips was barely a kiss, more a shared breath, a quiet vow. Ethan's fingers gripped the table's edge, anchoring him to the moment. The second touch was a kiss, deliberate yet soft, like a sentence finding its shape. Ethan leaned into it, question and answer meeting. It wasn't staged or wild. It was the simple clarity of wanting, spoken in a way they both understood. Ethan let go of the table, his hand finding Lucas's shirt, the soft fabric steadying him. Lucas deepened the kiss, his palm resting at Ethan's neck, thumb warm against his jaw. The feeling sparked down Ethan's spine, pooling low. The world shrank to coffee and pizza crusts, to the soft hum Lucas made when Ethan answered with his own surprised sound. A quiet urgency built, patient but present. Lucas followed Ethan's lead, stopping the moment Ethan let out a shaky laugh sob. "No," Ethan said, breathless, undone in the best way. "It's just..." His throat caught on the flood of emotion, tears welling warm and joyful. "I cry when I'm everything." Lucas's lips curved gently. He grabbed a tissue box from the corner. Why was there a tissue box here? And offered it like a treasure. "You can laugh," Ethan said, wiping his eyes, caught between embarrassment and ease. "I could," Lucas murmured, warm. "Or I could say watching you feel so fully makes me want to be gentle with you." "That's worse," Ethan half laughed, half protested. Lucas's chuckle tipped Ethan's tears free again. Lucas's thumb brushed a tear from Ethan's cheek, so soft Ethan stilled, glowing inside. "We can stop," Lucas offered. "I don't want to stop kissing," Ethan blurted, stunned by his own honesty. "But I don't want to rush just because it's late and we're alone. You're my boss and my head's a mess." "Then we won't rush," Lucas said easily. He rested his forehead against Ethan's, close but not possessive. "We'll kiss, then make a sensible plan. Boundaries, HR, all the responsible stuff two guys do when they're very into each other at work." Ethan choked on a laugh. "A sensible plan," Lucas said, mock serious. "I'm known for them. Charts, deadlines, check-ins." "Check-ins," Ethan echoed, dizzy with the care in it. "Okay." Lucas kissed him again, slower, a path they both wanted to learn. Ethan leaned up, hands settling at Lucas's waist, fingers flexing to test reality before softening. When they parted, Ethan pressed his hands to his face, not hiding, but holding himself together without clutching Lucas's shirt. "This feels unreal," he mumbled into his palms. Lucas waited. When Ethan lowered his hands, Lucas's gaze was steady. "It's real. I like you, not because you ran or stayed, but because you see the heart of a story and say brave things even when your voice shakes." His eyes flicked to the manuscript, then back. "And when you smile like you're surprised it's allowed, my day gets better." "I'm not good at this," Ethan admitted softly. "You and me. Not kissing, I've kissed before. Just this." He winced. "That sounded like I'm a pro." "You're perfect," Lucas said. When Ethan flinched at the word, he added, "For me. For now." He sat on the table's edge, legs stretched, gazing at the ceiling. "We'll take it slow. I'll leave you silly coffee notes. I'll walk you home in the rain. I'll ask before I touch. And when we're not buried in edits at midnight, I'll ask you on a real date. One with something bolder than soda." Ethan laughed, unguarded. "With lime. I like lime." "Noted," Lucas said, his smile private, the kind that collected details to give back later. They tidied the pizza box, stacked papers, did the small tasks that eased the next day. When Lucas held the door, Ethan stepped through, then turned back, rising on his toes to brush a shy kiss against Lucas's jaw, where stubble met soft skin. Surprised by his own nerve, Ethan grinned, eyes shining. Lucas touched the spot with 2 fingers, like sealing it, then pressed his hand to the door, careful with the moment's weight. "Text me when you're home." "I will," Ethan promised, then added, "Thanks for not pushing me." "Consent's my best feature," Lucas said, dryly playful. "I can think of others," Ethan murmured, startling them both. "Go," Lucas laughed. "Before I prove you right on the street." Midnight felt softer that night. Ethan tucked his chin into his scarf, walking with a lightness he'd deny if asked. From the train he texted, "Almost home. Face is warm. Don't you dare say why. I'm professional. A model citizen. Also, coffee tomorrow. It's already on my desk in my dreams." Lucas replied, "I'll make it real." "Sleep well, bold editor." Ethan did, dreaming of notes scrawled across his hands like charms that worked only when read with a grin. The next Thursday, drizzle cloaked the city, umbrellas swaying like shadows. Lucas walked him to the subway, tilting the umbrella toward Ethan's side. At the stairs, Ethan's heart raced. "Would you?" he stammered, nerves sparking. His hands shook on his bag strap. "Want to come over for dinner? I can cook." Bert tried it. The words felt wild. "Invite your boss. The guy you've cried in front of 3 times. To your apartment with its lumpy couch and crooked shelf." But Lucas's eyes warmed, like Ethan had offered not just dinner but trust. "I'd like that," he said simply. The promise lingered, humming in Ethan's chest as he descended the stairs. The next day was a whirlwind. Ethan cleaned his apartment like it was an audition, vacuuming 3 times, wiping counters until they shone, rearranging books to look effortlessly smart. By Saturday evening, Ethan was a nervous wreck in a spotless apartment. The knock at his door nearly stopped his heart. He smoothed his hair, checked the table, candles, not too many, a bottle of wine, nothing fancy, and opened the door. Lucas stood there in a dark sweater and jeans, hair slightly tousled by the breeze. He looked striking yet approachable, stealing Ethan's breath. "You look," Ethan faltered, gripping the doorknob. "Different." Lucas raised a brow, amused. "Good different, I hope." Ethan made a choked sound that meant yes. Lucas stepped inside, smiling. "Smells nice." Kind words, considering Ethan had nearly scorched the garlic toast earlier and had been fanning the kitchen ever since. Cooking together was meant to be lighthearted, but Ethan stumbled at every step. He dropped a fork, misjudged the pasta and doubled the portion, then charred the first batch. Lucas leaned against the counter, sleeves rolled up, chuckling softly. "Want me to take over?" "No," Ethan said, cheeks hot. "I wanted to make this for you." "You are," Lucas said, his voice warm with playful fondness. "Dinner and a show. Best date I've had in ages." Ethan groaned, hiding his face. "It's not supposed to be a show." "Then it's charming," Lucas said, gently taking the fork from Ethan's hand. "Let me stir before the pasta rebels." It was absurd, standing in the small kitchen, shoulders brushing as Lucas tended the pot like it was a craft. But something in Ethan's chest loosened, like the world had carved out a space for him. Dinner was edible, a small victory. They sat at the cramped table, knees touching, and Lucas shared stories about his sister and a reckless skateboarding mishap, about his dad who insisted on feeding guests until they begged for mercy. Ethan laughed until his sides ached, nerves melting into something warm. Later, they sank into the couch, a movie humming in the background, barely noticed. Ethan's heartbeat was loud enough to echo. Their hands brushed once, twice. Ethan's fingers twitched, hesitant. Then Lucas's hand settled over his, steady and sure. Ethan turned. Lucas's green eyes caught him in the dim flicker of the screen. Okay? Lucas asked softly. Ethan nodded, throat tight. The kiss came slowly, deliberate, but no less intense. Lucas leaned in, his hand cupping Ethan's cheek, lips soft at first, then deeper as Ethan pressed closer, hungry for it. Rain pattered against the windows, the movie's sound fading. There was only Lucas, the hint of wine on his lips, the steady hand grounding him. Ethan let out a small sound, and Lucas paused, searching his face. Too much. No, Ethan whispered, urgent. Keep going. So Lucas did. Later, in the quiet of Ethan's bedroom, the air felt heavy with something tender and certain. Lucas moved with care, always checking with a glance or a touch. Each kiss felt like a question and an answer, as if every breath mattered. You're stunning, Lucas murmured against his skin. Ethan shook his head, overwhelmed, tears pricking. I'm not. You are, Lucas said, his lips brushing the corner of Ethan's eye. I want you. It was everything. Ethan's chest swelled, tears slipping down his cheeks. He tried to hide them, but Lucas kissed them away. You don't have to hold back, Lucas whispered. Let me see you. So Ethan did. Every touch felt like being cherished, not owned. Passion flared, but tenderness held it close. It wasn't just desire, it was care, love woven into every quiet reassurance. Ethan cried, but the tears felt like truth, not weakness. His body said what his voice couldn't. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for wanting me. When the night stilled, Ethan trembled in Lucas's arms, face tucked into his shoulder. He'd never felt so unraveled, yet so safe. Morning slipped in, soft light spilling over the sheets. Ethan woke, heart racing when he realized Lucas was still there, arm draped around him, steady and warm. For once, Ethan felt at peace. He shifted, studying Lucas's sleeping face, the sharp jaw, the faint line on his brow, the soft curve of his lips. Without thinking, Ethan brushed a stray lock of hair from his forehead. Lucas stirred, eyes fluttering open. He smiled, voice rough with sleep. Morning. Ethan flushed. Morning. Lucas pulled him closer, his hold gentle. I'm not letting you run again, Ethan, he murmured. Ethan's chest ached, a shy smile breaking through, tears soft this time. Okay, he whispered, believing it. For once, he wasn't plotting an escape. He was right where he wanted to be. By Monday, Ethan half convinced himself the weekend was a dream, not the dinner where he scorched the pasta and Lucas called it charming, not the kiss on the couch, not Lucas whispering you're stunning with quiet reverence, and definitely not waking in his arms to I'm not letting you run again. It felt too vivid for the office's hum, the chatter by the coffee maker, the faint scent of ink, the steady tap of keyboards. But the reminder was there every time Ethan glanced at the glass office down the hall, where Lucas sat, sharp in his button-up, leading meetings as if he hadn't spent Saturday night holding Ethan together with soft words and softer touches. Ethan should have been soaring. Instead, whispers crept in, fraying his confidence. It started small. Two co-workers by the coffee machine, voices low but sharp. He's so, look at him, one said, nodding toward Lucas. Perfect jaw, perfect hair. Like he's from a photo shoot. Yeah, the other replied, giggling, not cruel but not kind. He's gorgeous. But paired with... Ethan froze, mug in hand, and forced himself to keep moving. The words stung like splinters. Later, by the copier, another comment cut deeper. Harper could date anyone. Why is he always with more? Ethan's cheeks burned. He told himself it didn't matter, but doubt took root. Why you? Why not someone sharper, someone who fits his world? Not someone who stumbles and cries over edits. The spiral tightened. By Wednesday, Ethan couldn't meet Lucas's eyes without hearing the echoes. Too ordinary, too clumsy, not enough. And it didn't help that Claire from design, tall, polished, with hair like polished bronze, had started lingering in Lucas's office, laughing too loudly, brushing his arm when passing reports. Ethan watched from his desk, stomach twisting. He wanted to look away but couldn't. Lucas's easy smile, the tilt of his head as he listened, it burned. Of course Lucas would be kind. It's who he was. And Claire looked like someone who belonged beside him. By Thursday, Ethan couldn't take it. He started avoiding Lucas, slipping out of the break room when Lucas entered, lingering in the stairwell during his usual exit time, keeping his head down at his desk, eyes glued to manuscripts. His chest hurt with every heartbeat. He'll see it soon, Ethan thought. He'll realize he can do better. He'll tire of my tears, my clumsiness, my not-enoughness. And when he did, Ethan would be left with only himself to blame for believing it could last. Lucas noticed, of course. He saw Ethan's chair turn slightly away, the quick exits, the eyes that avoided his. He recognized retreat, and he wasn't about to let Ethan slip away. On Friday, during the weekly editorial meeting, Lucas decided to make things clear. The room was packed, junior editors, design team, interns gripping laptops. Ethan sat a few chairs away, shoulders tense, eyes locked on his notes, silent throughout. Lucas stood at the table's head, discussing upcoming projects, but his gaze kept finding Ethan, hunched, lips tight, trying to fade into the background. Lucas's chest tightened at the sight. As the meeting ended, Lucas cleared his throat. One last thing. His voice, calm and commanding, hushed the room instantly. I want to recognize Ethan more. Heads turned. Ethan froze, his pen slipping from his fingers. His work on the Torah's manuscript kept it from being a lesser book, Lucas said, eyes steady on Ethan. His notes have strengthened our projects, and his commitment stands out. He paused, then added, his lips curving with quiet pride, more than that, he's my partner. In life. Silence fell. A few mouths opened. A cough broke the quiet. Whispers started but died as Lucas's green eyes swept the table, daring anyone to turn it into gossip. Ethan sat, heart pounding, face burning red, eyes wide. Partner. Lucas said it like a fact, unshakable, with pride, not hesitation. His gaze held Ethan like a gift offered without shame. The meeting ended in murmurs and shuffling papers, but Ethan barely heard over his racing pulse. He wanted to sink through the floor. He wanted to cry. He wanted to kiss Lucas until the world disappeared. Instead, he fled the room, cheeks aflame. That evening, with the office nearly empty, Ethan lingered at his desk, trying to edit through the haze of embarrassment, Lucas's words echoing in his veins. He's my partner. His hands trembled as he typed. Footsteps approached. Ethan didn't need to look to know it was Lucas. He stopped by the desk, leaning against it, arms crossed, eyes glinting in the dim light. Why are you avoiding me? Lucas asked, soft but direct. Ethan's throat went dry. I'm not. You are, Lucas cut in gently, leaning closer, one hand on the desk, close enough for Ethan to catch the scent of lime and wood. Talk to me. Ethan swallowed, his voice breaking. People say, I'm ordinary. That you could have anyone. That I'm, he faltered. Not enough for you, Lucas. Lucas's eyes softened, but his tone was firm. They're wrong. Ethan blinked, tears stinging. No, Lucas said, his hand cupping Ethan's jaw, thumb tracing his trembling lips. Listen. I don't want anyone else. Not Claire, not anyone. You. Before Ethan could argue, Lucas kissed him. It wasn't gentle like their early nights. It was fierce, urgent, raw. Lucas's mouth claimed his, teeth grazing, tongue sweeping in, leaving Ethan gasping, his body arching into him, hands gripping Lucas's shirt. Lucas deepened the kiss, pressing Ethan against the desk, papers sliding unnoticed. His voice growled against Ethan's lips. I want you. Only you. Another kiss, burning, leaving Ethan shaking. You're mine, Ethan. Let them whisper, I don't care. I chose you. Ethan let out a soft sound, tears spilling, not from doubt but from relief, from being wanted so fiercely. Lucas kissed the tears away, murmuring, stunning. Brilliant. Ethan sobbed, laughter mixing with tears, clinging to Lucas like he'd float away otherwise. You mean it? Ethan whispered. Lucas pressed his forehead to Ethan's, eyes both fierce and tender. I've never meant anything more. The office was quiet, save for their breaths and the rustle of scattered papers. Ethan's tears slowed, replaced by shaky laughter. Relief loosened his chest. He believed it. Lucas didn't just want him, he was proud of him. Ethan kissed him back, desperate, hands tangling in Lucas's hair, tasting the promise that had always been there. In Lucas's arms, Ethan's doubts began to dissolve. I'm staring, Lucas teased, pulling back slightly. You're making me nervous, Ethan muttered, covering his face. You're perfect when you're nervous, Lucas said, unapologetic. Ethan groaned, half laughing. You can't say that while I'm trying not to ruin dinner. I can and I will, Lucas replied, grinning. By some miracle, the pasta came out flawless. Ethan served it with a proud flourish, beaming as Lucas took an exaggerated bite. Perfect, Lucas said. You've ruined me for all other pasta. Ethan rolled his eyes, cheeks pink, pride glowing. After dinner, Lucas slipped into the bedroom and returned with something behind his back. Ethan squinted, wary. What's that? Lucas revealed a bouquet, simple, white daisies and soft lavender blooms. Ethan blinked, throat tight. Flowers? For you, Lucas said plainly. You deserve beautiful things. Ethan's eyes welled up. You can't just do that. I'll. His voice broke, tears falling. I'll cry. Lucas stepped close, thumb brushing Ethan's cheek. Then cry. I love how deeply you feel. It makes every moment real. Ethan laughed shakily, clutching the flowers like they might vanish. You're absurd. And you, Lucas murmured, kissing him softly, are worth it. They kissed in the kitchen's warm light, laughter and tears blending. The flowers sat on the counter, petals glowing, a quiet testament to love made certain. That night the world paused for them. In the bedroom, the air hummed with anticipation, softened by care. Lucas moved slowly, always checking with a glance or touch. Each kiss was a promise, each touch a vow. Ethan trembled, not from fear but from the weight of being cherished. Every gasp, every tear, was met with Lucas's steady words. You're beautiful. A kiss to his forehead. You're all I want. Lips brushing his neck. I want you to feel good. Hands moving gently along his skin. Ethan's nerves sparked, lit by being seen, chosen. Tears came, welcomed, and Lucas kissed them away, unashamed of the emotion between them. Their connection was slow, deliberate, built on devotion, not just passion. Lucas guided, praised, adored, making every moment about Ethan's comfort, Ethan's joy. The intimacy was overwhelming yet tender, love woven into every touch. Ethan's heart swelled, joy and disbelief colliding. Lucas, he whispered, voice trembling. I love you. Lucas's hand tightened around his, fingers entwined. I love you, Ethan. Always. The words sank deep, wrapping Ethan like a shield. He surrendered to it, safe, wanted, to. When it ended, they lay tangled in sheets, breaths slowing, the room alive with their shared quiet. Ethan rested against Lucas's chest, his heartbeat steady, grounding. Lucas kissed his hair, voice soft. You're everything. Don't you see it now? Ethan looked up, eyes wet but smiling. He touched Lucas's jaw, thumb grazing stubble. I do, he whispered. I finally do. Lucas pulled him closer, their bodies fitting perfectly. Ethan closed his eyes, peace settling like morning light. In the quiet, he thought of words once sharp but now radiant. I ran because he was too much for me. Now he's the one who makes me feel like I'm enough.